Welcome to the Doral Boulevard study. We have here Ms. Rita Carbonell, Transportation Manager, who's going to be leading us along with the city's consultant. Thank you.
Do I go back? Oh. Everyone, my name is Rita Carbonell. Thank you for coming out tonight and or attending online. We are doing a study of Doral Boulevard, which is basically 36th/41st Street. The segment that we're taking a look at is between 97th Avenue and basically the Palmetto. We identified this corridor because it was having a lot of access management issues in terms of a lot of conflict points and crashes, and we wanted to come up with operational improvements to facilitate traffic and reduce congestion. We applied for a grant with the county's Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization, and we were awarded partial funding of this study. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my development team, which is Watman Group and CH Perez. We have Revel here tonight. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Okay, all right. My name is Revocados Canilwa from CH Perez Consultants. We are a consulting company, engineering consulting company located not too far from here. Here we're in the city. And with me today is Carlos Perez. Some of you might know him. He's the president of the company. And Kevla Castro, senior traffic engineer with the company, as well as Jeffrey Slowinski, another traffic engineer. And Andy Gangata, who is our client since we are sub to his company, One Pan Group. So anyway, today we just want to walk you through this presentation, which is more like an introduction to what we have already started doing and where we think we'll be by the end of this exercise. So, like Rita said, this is a study that is being funded by Miami TPO as a grant. The origin of the study started with the beautification master plan for the Doral Boulevard Corridor, which was completed. Oh, okay. So people online can hear you. Oh, sure. Thanks. Yeah. You know, I'm not a politician, right? Oh, okay. Sorry. So yeah, the origin of this study started with the beautification master plan for Doral Boulevard Corridor, which was completed some time back. Yeah, and like I say, it's funded by Miami TPO. There are some developments which are already taking place along the corridor, which obviously are going to be adding more traffic to the corridor when completed. Some of them have already been completed. These two here are under construction. Actually, these two here, the Doral Square and the atrium, which is at the far end of the corridor, these are still under construction. And the sanctuary, which is not too far from here, has already been completed, and people have already started moving in. And these ones in purple were completed a few years back. So the third purpose is basically to evaluate the existing access condition along the corridor, identify potential improvements that we can recommend to enhance safety, improve mobility, and also enhance traffic flow for all modes. This includes vehicles, pedestrians, transit, and everybody else. And then the last purpose is to improve accessibility and connectivity to all the businesses along the corridor. It's a 9-month schedule. The study has got a 9-month schedule. We started this back in November with data collection, which we have completed. And the final report is not expected until sometime in July, after the client has reviewed our recommendations and we have gotten input from other stakeholders. This is a schedule of all the activities that we are going to be conducting. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this workshop that we have today is also in the schedule. So this is the first workshop that we are having to get, just to inform you about the study. And we are going to have another one sometime in April, where we'll have some concepts already developed so that you guys can see what we are proposing to change along the corridor. These are the study limits, as we say. It starts at the western end at 97, just to the west of 97 Avenue Signal. There's a median opening that services the Publix Plaza. So that's going to be the beginning of our western end, and then it goes all the way to the Palmetto here. This is the signal from the off-ramp. So this is the limit. And so for the start method, actually this lower part that you see here, it gives you just a view of the entire corridor. Unfortunately, one piece of the corridor got torn apart. So, but when you have a chance, you can walk around and just see what the condition looks like along the corridor. We have all the businesses listed. We have all the median openings shown, and we are showing also the same information on the board over there. So our study methodology basically includes the following activities. We are going to be doing traffic data collection, which you have already completed. We started this exercise back in November. We are looking at traffic data, vehicular data, pedestrian data, bicycle data. So we have already completed that, and we are going to be making some adjustments to that data, given that right now the pandemic and everything, traffic might not be the same. So we'll be doing some tweaks to the data that we have collected. And then the methodology includes doing a field review of the entire corridor. This exercise was done back in December, and basically the purpose of that was just to see how the interaction between vehicles and bicycles and pedestrians is happening along the median opening and at the signals. So we completed this exercise back in November. And then the other aspect of the methodology is to conduct a crash analysis. Here we are looking at the safety for both pedestrians and the vehicles. And this one, we're looking at 5 years of crash data, starting in 2014 all the way to 2018. So we think that with this amount of data, it's going to give us a good idea of what the safety condition is along the corridor. And then we are going to evaluate the existing access along the corridor, where the median openings are located, how far apart are they from each other, how the driveways are located, and then from there, obviously we are going to be soliciting public input through this process. But from having this information, the traffic data, the field review, and the crash analysis, we are going to develop some concepts to see what needs to change along the corridor in order to make it better in terms of access. So this is another aspect that we'll be conducting during this study, and that's the main purpose of this study actually. And then once we have developed some concepts, we're going to do an evaluation of those concepts. The evaluation will be based on operation. How will they impact, if we close, say, a median opening, how will this impact an adjacent signal or an adjacent median opening? So we'll be conducting that evaluation. Another one will be based on economic evaluation to see what will be the cost and what will be the benefit of this making these changes. So we are going to develop at least 2 to 3 concepts, and we are going to look at each concept independently and then compare them to see which one we can recommend to the client. And then we are going to put everything in a report that we are going to be submitting sometime in July at the end of the study. So up to this point, like I said, we have already completed the traffic data collection. We have conducted the field review, completed that. We have done the crash analysis. We're going to be showing you some our findings about the crashes along the corridor. And we have also completed the evaluation of existing conditions. So we know the median locations, how far apart they're from each other, and what we think needs to be done going forward in order to make the improvements. So this is a summary of the findings from the existing condition. So the corridor itself, if you start from 97 Avenue all the way to the off-ramp of 826, we have 9 signalized locations, which probably you all know about. And then we have 20 median openings. The 20 median openings consist of 17 full median opening, meaning that if it's a full median opening, this allows all kinds of movement. You can come from a side street to make a left turn. You can go, if allowed, you can go across if there's a receiving lane on the other end. and you can make left turns from the arterial, from Doral Boulevard. So we have 17 such full median openings, and then we have 3 of them which are directional, meaning that they only allow left turns from Doral Boulevard, either in one direction or both directions. We have 41 existing driveways. 18 of them are located on the north side of Doral Boulevard, and 33 of them are on the south side. So they're servicing all the properties on the south side. This could be businesses or office buildings. So the median openings and the driveways that we have, given the existing spacing between them, all of them, most of them do not meet the FDOT criteria, which is what we are going to be using to do the evaluation to see if the access meets the criteria or not. The criteria is mostly based on the spacing. So when you have 2 driveways adjacent to each other and the speed of the street, you need to have a certain minimum spacing in order for that corridor to be considered safe. The same thing goes with the full median opening or the directional median opening, or even between the signals. So there's a certain distance that we need to meet. So based on the existing condition, most of these median openings do not meet the FDOT criteria. So we're going to try to see what can practically be done to improve those median openings, if anything. We looked at the traffic condition. Like I said, we have completed this exercise of traffic data collection. And from our initial findings, we see that the traffic is within 90% of the pre-pandemic levels. But we will be doing some tweaks to the data just to make sure that we don't leave anything out. So if we say we close a median opening, we don't want to close it based on wrong data. So we are going to be making sure that the data that we're using for this exercise is absolutely close to what the reality is. And then we looked at, we found out that the level of pedestrian and bicycle use at this time when we did the data collection was a little low, was moderate, I would say. There were some activities, but it was moderate. Yes, sir? Yeah, so the traffic data from all those developments, we'll take those into consideration when we are evaluating the future conditions. So once we have developed our improvements, we're going to see, okay, what is it that we're looking to be having along this corridor, say, in 5-10 years when all these developments are in place. So yes, we'll take all that into consideration.
Hi. So right now we're just doing the existing evaluation, and we're collecting all the traffic studies to develop the volumes and then do the projections based on the alternatives. So we'll study all the alternatives, and then we do the projections, the deviated traffic with the traffic once we build out the future volumes. But we're collecting that data now to develop the future volumes to then start testing the alternatives. But we're not there yet.
Thanks, Rita. Okay, so this is just another view of the corridor that you see there, but this one is showing you all the locations where the median openings are located. We have labeled them as median opening number 1. By the way, we will be passing a handout to you at the end of the presentation so you can go through the information later on. But so this is an example for a full median opening. This is the one servicing the just west of 97. So this allows movement, it allows eastbound left turn into the Publix, and it also allows a southbound left turn to go east from the Publix. And also, if you're coming from the office building here, you can pretty much go west if you want. But that creates a lot of friction, as you can see when we show you the data, the crashes that are happening. So, and then this is the 97 signal. And the thing you see in yellow here, these are the peak hour traffic data that we have collected at these locations. So we have 3 numbers there. We have the number during the AM, during the morning peak hour, and then we have numbers during the midday when people are going out for lunch, and then we have the number during the afternoon peak when people are coming from work and going back to their residences. So if you go along the corridor, you'll see all this information at each location where we have collected the data. So I'm just gonna go skip through this. And so when it comes to crashes, what has happened in the 5 years of data that we looked at, we found out that there were a total of 992 total crashes, almost 1,000 crashes. And the bulk of these crashes, I mean the split of these crashes involved 187, oh, did I skip one? How do I go back here? Sorry, just a minute. Now I want to go back to the last slide. Yeah. Oh, okay, that one is here.
There?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's one slide I'm missing here, but anyway, we had a total of 992 crashes. 100 of them were angle crashes. Now, why is this important? The angle crashes is mostly, they involve mostly, when, let's say for instance, you have a situation where, if I can move here, you have a situation where someone is coming up out of their public plaza and they want to go east. And then you have someone driving along the corridor in either direction and they T-bone each other. We call that an angle crash. Okay? We also have 70 left-hand crashes. That involves a movement like you want to enter into the public plaza, so you're going east, you want to turn left, but then there's this guy here coming from the signal going west. And then for some reason, because you misjudged the gap or whatever, you run into each other. We consider that as a left-hand crashes. These are important, especially when we are dealing with the median openings which are not signalized, like at a signal. So we had 70 left-hand crashes and 107 angle crashes. Now, of the 107 crashes, angle crashes, 54 of them happened at signalized locations, at the 9 signals. They are spread throughout the 9 signals. And I'll be showing you where most of them happened. And then we had 53 at these unsignalized locations, at the median openings where we allow all these movements from their businesses to the north or south. And then we also had 70 left-hand crashes, 37 of them happened at their signals, and then 32 of them happened at the median openings. This diagram here just shows you it gives you a pictorial view of where these crashes are concentrated. As you can see, we had quite a few crashes here at the median opening, just to the east of 97. We had a total of 29 angle crashes at our location and 7 left-hand crashes. That's a very problematic area. And if people familiar with the corridor, as you might know, in the evening, the Q spillback from the 97 signal goes all the way to sometimes to 93rd court signal. So it's very impossible for someone to easily make that left-hand movement if they want to go to anything on the north side, or to even come from the north side to make a left-hand to go east. So this just gives you an idea of how the crash pattern is, and this crash pattern will continue as we add more traffic with all these developments. So we are not expecting these numbers to go down. Most likely they're going to go up. So this is there's nothing on this corridor here. This is where the Federal Reserve is, I think. No, this is the AT&T. This is where the Federal Reserve is. Nothing happened in this corridor. So it's, at least in this part from 93rd all the way to this signal here, we didn't much happening. Now this is 87th Avenue, as you can see. '97, we had a few crashes, but not as bad as what we would have expected given the amount of traffic. We had a few angle crashes, but most of the crashes. Okay. Most of the crashes here, for angle and left-hand crashes, the numbers were not as bad. But when you combine all the crashes, like rear end and side swaps, rear end is when you bump into you're driving a lot, you're following each other, and then the person in front of you maybe stops and you run into them. Side swap is when you're trying to change lanes and you misjudge how far the other vehicle is. So when you combine all the other crashes, the number is high, but when you just look at the angle and left hand, the problem is not as bad. We had a few crashes here at this opening here, which accepts the Trump property. But the thing is, all these crashes here happened before that signal just to the west of it, at the gateway. Is that the name of the property? Those apartments, the gateway, right? So this happened before that development was completed. So before the signal went into place, and before they changed this median opening here. Before they modified it. So this was after. So that problem, in other words, we can say we do not expect to see that problem going forward. Okay. And then, as you can see, we have a few more crashes scattered along the corridor. So this information is one of the things that we'll be using when we are contemplating what kind of improvements we are going to be proposing for the corridor. So all this information that I'm sharing with you, we are going to be taking that into consideration to see what is feasible and why. Why should we do this here? Why should we close this median opening here, or leave it open? And those are the steps that we have. Those are the things that we have completed so far. So the next step from now going forward is for us to look at all this information that we have collected, and then start developing our improvements, and then evaluate those concepts from an operational standpoint of view, and also from the economics of it, and then provide them to the client. So sometime in April, we are going to be having another workshop where we can share with you guys what sort of improvements we have so far developed. So with that, I think if you, at this point, maybe you might not have any question, but if you have any question, we would be more than happy to try to answer them. But this is still work in progress. We're just at the beginning of the exercise. We're still looking at all these concepts, but so, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Some of them might be like the one I showed you. Yeah, like this one here. Like this one. See all this data, all those crashes? This is at the same location. So this plus what you see above, this is just a two-layered view of the same crash. We had 29 angle crashes in 5 years. That obviously is a very tough spot, and if anything has to be closed, that will be among the ones that we're going to be looking at. Yeah. This is the one. Yeah, so you got it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I may elaborate, we're going to be coming up with different alternatives based on different criteria to come up with improvements from a holistic perspective throughout the corridor. And then we're going to be testing to see what makes more sense from a traffic perspective, because if sometimes we may close something, we may impact another intersection upstream or downstream, and it may not be feasible. So we had to take a look at that from that perspective to see how we impact the area while mitigating traffic the best we can in the crashes.
Yeah. So thank God, like I said, we have some developments that they collected data for those developments, for those studies. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to compare our data that we collected against the data that they collected back then and see what the difference is like. And not only that, at one of the locations along the corridor, I think it's 87th Avenue, there's a permanent count station that is by the DOT. What that does is it collects data throughout the year. So the data that we have collected from in December we are going to compare that with that count station data. And if the difference is not significant, then we can rest assured that, yeah, it might not be the same as pre-pandemic, but the difference is not more than this number. It might be 10%, 3%. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at. Yeah. Yes, sir. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And if you remember the study papers, we said not only address safety issues, but also enhance traffic flow along the corridor. Yeah. As you might notice, we have 41 driveways. Most of them do not right-turn lanes. So as you know, if someone trying to make a right-turn into a property, they slow down everybody behind them and create a situation. So things like that we try to look and see, can some of these driveways be consolidated? Maybe yes, maybe not, depending on how their property is configured, the configuration of the property.
We have some comment cards in the front. If you guys are more than welcome to fill out any comments that you may have that we could put in the report. I'm taking notes of your questions and answers. If anybody has anything online, we'll be happy to answer it. But that's basically our presentation. We will stick around. Yes. We're still developing them. So as we're still developing them and fine tuning them. So once we have them ready, we'll present not only the alternatives but the results of the alternatives that we tested. So we'll have that information next time.
Atrium, yes. So the developer of that property, in one of the things they said they were going to do, in one of the things they said they were going to do was to modify the median opening at that location. That was their commitment. So that's what they're doing right now. Now, when we come in with our study, we'll see how that modification that they did, which is under construction now, how does that fit in with the entire exercise that we're trying to do here. Because they might have done it just for, for access to their property, but without taking into consideration other factors that we are looking at here.
So just to kind of clarify, Miami-Dade County owns Doral Boulevard. So they approve. We will take a look at it from a traffic perspective when they come in, and they have to mitigate anything that project impacts. So the thing is that a lot of improvements on Doral Boulevard are segmented, and they're not done holistically. So it'll be an improvement for this particular project, and you have another improvement for another particular project, but you don't take a look at it from an entire corridor. So that's what we're trying to do. We're taking the improvements that each project is doing, implementing it as such, and then taking a look at to see what else we could do to enhance the corridor as a whole, and not just piecemealing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go to the Burger King location. and you hit the red. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, trucks.
No problem. They don't hear me. Someone wants to hear me. That's nice. I'm becoming popular for the good or the bad. So we understand that we have a well-balanced community between commercial and residential, and they need to use the road. We need to share the road. However, I do think we can make an effort, like it was done on Northwest 79th Avenue, to restrict some lanes to be no trucks on this lane. Why? Because I want to go east, and guess what? I have three material trucks up to the hooks, and they can only accelerate so far when the green light comes green, and that kills the output of the traffic cycle because they don't want to be one behind the other. They want to be one next to the other one. So if at least for some hours or from some pilot or testing, I insist, I know that corridor belongs to the county or the state or whatever, but if it was done on 79th Avenue, excuse me, Street Northwest 79, which is a causeway that goes through West Bay Village, I think it is. If it was done there in the last, I think 3 years ago they implemented that there, there is no reason why that program cannot be done in another artery that belongs to the same entity, or at least during peak hours.
Anyone else? Anyone online with a question? Okay. Okay. Well, we just want to thank you, and yeah, yeah. We want to thank you all for coming and taking your time. It's a little cold, especially for me, but hey, we appreciate your interest in the study, and we look forward to seeing you again in April when we have more stuff to share with you. Because I guess this is just preliminary now, but as you notice, it's a very interesting corridor. You know. Yes, sir.
Is there an option for a consideration? Excuse me again. In 79, this is 79, right? So, taking the opportunity, I know this is private land and there's big plans for that, but I think on the rendering, this corner was kind of being set or reserved for monumental sign and parking. But this, you can see even in the picture, the backlog that you have of vehicles that want to turn west is very big. Can we try to negotiate to get an extra turn-only right lane? And the same thing will be on 79 coming north, which is this intersection, which is a canal. So we can request an extra lane to turn right eastbound when you go north on 97.
For that southbound right on 79th Avenue, they're building it right now. So that development is building that dedicated right turn lane as part of their improvements. They gave that dedication to the city.
Same here?
Not there, because that's southbound.
yeah.
Because northbound, that's I think that's I want to say that's FDOT, right?
Exactly. So can we ask the same thing to be done southbound? On the south. Good. We have you here, right? Let's put our tax dollars to work for the benefit of the city. And northbound on 97 is the canal, so I don't know who.
Provide that right turn lane going north on 36. You're going to create a problem of weaving of the people who is turning right in there and want to continue into 36 all the way east, because you're going to have to cross two lanes because you're providing an extra lane right now, and the lane that exists in there goes directly to the ramp. It doesn't go straight. So you're going to create a weaving problem that may cause additional crashes. So everything has to be evaluated. I'm not saying no, but there are issues and situations in which you cannot implement something because you solve one problem but add another problem.
Okay. Because when this intersection you have the green light for vehicles to go up, you don't have traffic going east. But you can,
You have right turn lanes unless you change the facing of the signal to make it a split signal, a split signal phase. If you allow right turns without, you may have right turns because right turn unless you put no right turn lanes on the red,
yes,
right turns are allowed.
Yeah.
And you will have the right turn in there with this through traffic coming in. And when these people on the inside right turn lane, if you have dual lanes, go and make the right, and then they try to weave into the main lane, the center lane to go straight east.
yes,
Then they're gonna find the people coming west from the
uh,
main line, and that can cause an issue.
absolutely. So, yes, I have seen some intersections in Miami for the first time that say no turn on, no right turn on red. They put that when they did the cross weave on 17th Avenue and 27th Avenue. So,
In fact, I'm being told by Jeff in here that the existing condition, it has a right turn, and then the middle lane is a right through.
okay.
So you're at this point allowing the two right turns.
So maybe it's the buffer that's not big, but
Yeah.
I see the stacking there. What about the one on 97 going north to east over the canal? Oh, okay, no problem. My time is over. No problem.
Thank you. Actually, that's 79 Avenue going north. If we showed you all the crashes, remember this one is just showing you the angle and left turn. But if I showed you a diagram that shows all the crashes that happen at that intersection, you will see an amazing number of side swipe crashes on the northbound at that intersection. Can't remember the number off the top of my head. Just do you remember how many side swipes we had? But it's a lot. No, those we're talking about on this approach. Yeah, where you have already a right turn lane, and you have the next lane to it is a through and right turn. So you have a lot of people who are in the right turning lane. For some reason, when they get there, they want to continue north. Or you have someone, well, it's from the through right, yeah, they can legally make the right turn, but it's mostly the guys in the right turn lane who violate that marking or signage and just want to continue. And we have, the number is amazing. We have a lot of side swap crashes there. And that could be one of our recommendations to the department or to the city to see if those lanes can be reconfigured once we look at the numbers to see if we reconfigure what would happen to the operation of that intersection. Because from a safety perspective, it's really not conducive.
And one other thing, Pierre, is that the intent of this study is to evaluate access management, okay? Which is evaluate the driveways, the median openings, and the signals to control crashes that are being caused by poor access management. That's an operation. What you're asking is it's doable, but it's not part of access management. It's part of operations. Okay. That is controlled by Miami-Dade Signals and Signs, so it's a different entity, and they will have to coordinate. Yeah.
I would like to thank everyone, especially Revel and the project team for their great work. And you know, it's a lot of work to put this together. We have some comment cards, and if anybody has anything they want to add, feel free, and we'll go ahead and incorporate it into the report. Thank you everyone for coming out. Appreciate it.
And if you want a handout of the presentation we just did, we have some copies here. You can take it, go through the material if you want. And we look forward to seeing you again in April, sometime in April.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.